Good evening, everyone. I'm so glad you could join us. On behalf of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, Theta Mu Omega chapter, I would like to welcome you all to our final part of our three-part series in Demystifying Menopause with Dr. Janet Williams. I want to take a moment and just tell you a little bit about why we've created this series. We want to be a vessel for community health within our organization, and this is one way that we have tried to communicate with the community on uh, health issues that are concerning women, particularly Black women. And so we wanted to present this information to you as part of that. Now, I would like to introduce our speaker for the evening. I would like to again thank you for joining us for what promises to be a powerful and meaning conversation, as the other two previous points have been. I'm so excited and a little bittersweet to welcome you to our final session this evening, but we're closing out with our extraordinary Dr. Janet Williams. Dr. Janet is a board-certified OBGYN and licensed physician and surgeon based in Los Angeles, with over 25 years of experience guiding women through their most personal and powerful health journeys. She's an expert on sexual medicine, an advocate for women's health, passionate voice for pleasure, power, and self discovery, especially for women over 40. She is also an intimate life coach and hypnotherapist at goodgroove.com, where she leads virtual programs helping women reconnect with their bodies, heal from within, and reclaim their joy. She is the author of the Amazon bestseller, Why Don't I Like Sex Anymore? The Grown Woman's Guide to Getting Your Groove Back and Reclaiming Your Truth. Dr. Janet's journey is deeply personal. In her 40s, after a difficult fertility experience and a dramatic drop in libido, she used therapy, coaching, hypnosis, and her own medical knowledge to rediscover herself and find new love and experience the most fulfilling intimacy of her life. She now brings that lived wisdom to other women, especially Black professional women, helping them thrive through perimenopause, menopause, and all the transitions life throws our way. Through her courses like Confident Pleasure Course and tools like the Hot Flash Chill System, Dr. Janet is helping women make bold, beautiful comebacks. And make sure tonight that you stay with us until the end because Dr. Janet has a special surprise just for us. So without further ado, please help me welcome the amazing Dr. Janet Williams.
Hello, welcome everyone. It's our final session. Ah, okay, but we can continue this journey starting today. I want to just kind of go back a little bit and talk about what we've covered so far and then what we're going to cover today. So let me go ahead and share my screen here and we'll get started. Let's see here. Okay, and I'm going to get into the slideshow. Oh, there we go. Play from start. Okay, so today is day 3 of demystifying menopause. At this point, we should have a little bit more clarity around what menopause is, what we can expect, and what we can encounter, and some of the ways that we can navigate and move through it. And today, we're going to be talking about crafting your dream for your life now and in years to come. So, just to jump back a little bit at what we've covered so far in day 1, we talked about the journey from perimenopause to menopause and the postmenopausal time frame, and some of the things that happen as we traverse this journey. And we talked about the biology and what is happening in the body and what you feel in the body, some common symptoms. So, those were the things that we covered in day 1. In day 2, we got into the nitty gritty, some of the horrible and annoying symptoms of menopause. Some of the most common ones were hot flashes and sleep problems and vaginal changes like irritation, pain, and dryness, among a number of other symptoms and problems that you would encounter. And then we talked a little bit about some of the specific treatments and solutions and what we can do to address these symptoms that come up. So today, talking about living your dream and moving forward in menopause and beyond, I want to bring to your attention some the pillars of good groove life. And so these are the areas that we'll be covering today are the pillars of good groove living, repair of sexual dysfunction, defining your dream, authentic resonance and something that I'll explain, and then your next steps. What do we do moving on from here? So, the pillars of good groove living. So, there are 9 of these pillars. When I work with my clients initially, most of the time, what we're working on is these 2 pillars over here, which is sex and romance, as well as health and wellness. And today, and in the past 2 sessions, we've been talking about menopause, health, and wellness. And so, it's these 2, the yellow with you see the little couple there, and this woman facing forward with the vitality image there. And so these are just 2 of the pillars of all of the pillars that help us to find balance in our lives. So some of the other pillars include finances, that's a really big one, our spiritual health, spirituality, our friends and family, as you'll see here on the left, our career and advancement, personal development, and then our home and environment, and then activity and fun. So those are the areas of and pillars of good groove living. And we need to have all of these in some sort of balance in order to live our dream lives. And now, obviously, things change, and sometimes, some of one pillar might be doing better than another pillar, and that's completely normal. But when we're talking about menopause and we're talking about some of the things that come up during menopause and perimenopause, what we're focusing a lot of the time on is this health and wellness and the sex and romance, because those are the 2 areas that are really impacted by this journey. And so I want to talk about sexual function just a little bit. Sexual function and dysfunction. And there are 4 areas involved with good sexual function, sexual health. Those include libido, arousal, orgasm, and pain. And what we see a lot of times in menopause, it's that we see changes in each one of these areas. So we may see a loss of libido, and that might look like you're just not interested. You things that used to interest you in sex and intimacy just don't anymore. Decreased arousal, so that is when your body's not responding properly. Weak or absent orgasms. This is a really big one. A lot of my clients and patients complain of, they might have an orgasm, they might not have an orgasm. The orgasm might be very weak. It might be very difficult to reach orgasm, like the things that you used to do before are just no longer working. You might have sensations of numbness or change sensation. So that is a very common finding that we see with menopause, perimenopause, and orgasm. And then pain is another big one. And we talked a little bit about this before with the changes that can occur in the vagina, in the vulva. There is something called the genitourinary syndrome of menopause. And it basically says that the tissues change in the genital area, and that can lead to dryness, irritation, and pain. And ultimately, that can affect your sexual activity and affect enjoyment of your sexual life. And so I want to talk a little bit more about libido. So what libido is, it is our sex drive. It is our desire. It's our desire for sex, and it varies dramatically from person to person, and may vary dramatically from time to time, depending on your personal preferences, depending on different life circumstances. Libido can be affected by our medical conditions, hormone levels, like as we're talking about here in menopause. and medications, lifestyle, and relationship issues. And so there's a lot of overlap when we talk about libido. It's not just an on or off thing, it's multifactorial. So there's many, things that contribute to us feeling desire in a way that is normal and healthy. And so you might remember having a different level of desire when you are 14 or 16 or 18 years old compared to now, right? And so it's a different time, it's a different set of hormones, it's a different set of circumstances that can affect the libido. And so an interesting thing that a lot of people don't know is that there are different types of desire. So, different types of libido and interest. Something called spontaneous desire. And then that is compared to something called responsive desire. And spontaneous desire is when we have a desire that comes out of nowhere. So, this is the desire where you're just minding your business, you're doing your thing, and suddenly you're thinking about your boo, and you're like, okay, let me send this person a text message. We're going to get together later on tonight. Like, it just comes out of nowhere, and you're thinking about this urge for sexual activity. Um, and that can be associated with the sensation of a spark, a passion. This is the thing that we often see in media, that desire or libido, that how that is described. And then the other type of desire is responsive desire. And so this is the type of desire where you're doing the dishes and Bae comes up behind you and is like, hey, let's go, let's do it. And you're like, okay. And you respond to the stimulus. So, and it may not be a person, it may be, something that you see or watch, but that desire develops or intensifies in response to stimulation, in response to some form of pleasure or some specific type of context. And it may not be present until there is an actual physical or an emotional connection and or a specific environment that's created. And so a lot of women have responsive desire. In fact, the majority of women have that type of desire. We have both, but we tend to lean towards responsive desire. And it can be associated with a greater emphasis on pleasure, trust, mutual benefit in the relationship. And so we can see that when there are multifactorial things, negative things in the environment, menopause has all of these, things that are going on at the same time. You can see how easily responsive desire may be interrupted. And so, where before that libido was there, your partner touches the small of your back, and you're like, okay, let's go, that may not be there anymore. You're just like, why is his hand on my back? So that is a very common thing that we see. And that is the reason why, because there are those two different types of desire. And so these are some of the common problems that we see with libido. I'm curious. Uh, let's see if anyone drops in the comments, like, what type of desire you can relate to, or would you say is your primary type of desire? Let's see some comments coming through here. I know I'm more responsive desire as well. There have been times where I've been um, super spontaneous with my desire. Let's see here. Responsive, Katina. Okay. Spontaneous desire is my primary. Okay. Interrupted due to life circumstances. Right. Yeah. So that's the whole idea with desire and libido in the first place, is it's like it fluctuates. So it's not always the same. It's not static. Okay. Anyone else? Okay. Moving on. All right. So arousal, and we touched on this a little bit in the last um, session, but arousal is our body's response. This is what you feel. So, and um, in response to the desire, in response to the stimulation. So, you're kissing, you're touching, you're hugging, those things are happening, or it even maybe you just see somebody and you're like, oh, okay. And your body responds to that desire. And that response might be that tingly feeling. The response might be getting wet. Like all of those things are what are what arousal is. And some of the common problems are vaginal dryness. And you feel like that spark is not there, that tingle is not there. The sensation might be numb, right? With arousal, you have a heightened sense of sensation. And a lot of women will experience a decreased sense of sensation and might even feel numb. That has a lot to do with our blood flow. The blood flow is extremely important for the tissues to be vitalized, to produce the lubrication, to get that tingly feeling going. A part of that tingly feeling is the blood rushing to those areas and kind of signaling the nerves down there. And so a lot of times we will see some shifts in the blood flow. The blood flow is not moving properly, and there may be some nerve damage. If you've got diabetes, you have a higher risk of having some nerve damage happen down there. So the sensation may change. So all of those are the reasons why we have changes in arousal. So what do we do? How do we fix this? It's like it's not all doom and gloom, right? So number one is education, and that's exactly what we're doing right now. So we can't obviously cover all of the points that come up here with sexual. It's a very broad because it's so multifactorial. There's a lot of things that play into our sexual health and function. But education and having an understanding of the sort of some of the basics and how the science of pleasure works is our very first step. And then you need to be able to apply that to your own body. Because we are all different, because we are all unique, there are, your body may be different than your friend's body. So sometimes people have these conversations and they're like, oh, well, that, I don't know about that. Or, somebody tells you that they did this and this outcome happened. They're like, oh my God, this amazing orgasm, XYZ. But everyone is different, and our stimulation needs are different. Our body's structure is different. If you have medications that you're taking, if you have, a relationship situation that's different, all of those things can impact the way that we feel and the way that we come to understand our body. So we have to kind of do some internal work. We have to look at our bodies. We have to experiment with things. We have to feel where things feel, and take the power of our bodies to understand what's going on, and how things work for us. And then there's also pharmaceuticals. So we've got there are medications. A lot of people are unaware that there are medications. There's actually quite a few medications that we can use to improve sexual health, to improve libido, and to improve arousal. And then coaching and hypnotherapy. These things are wonderful tools that are used across the board for sexual function issues. So if you, a part of the, desire, a part of our sexual function deals with our image of ourselves, our self-esteem, if we're carrying any baggage, any shame, trauma, if there's any trauma that you've been through, sexual trauma, abuse, all of those things, even years after, and even with therapy, sometimes we have these lingering blocks, what I call intimacy congestion blocks. And so, to be coached on those and to get that hypnotherapy to clear out the blocks is very powerful. I work with all kinds of clients with different types of blocks, sexual trauma, abuse, and there is a lot that can be done to get into those congestions, those little blocks, and clear them out in a safe and supportive way. Okay, Tiffany's iPad is doing some things here. Okay, let's see what we've got going on in the chat here. Yeah, diabetes absolutely can affect your arousal. You can have changes in the nerve endings, changes in the blood flow. That's why it's so important for you to keep those sugars in control if you do have diabetes, and make sure that your diet is supporting good blood flow. Um, okay, yes, so those are some good comments there. Okay, so moving forward. All right, so here are some of the libido medications. Okay, so Vyleesi or bremelanotide is an injection. So it's a very cool injection that is formulated to treat low libido in women. And so with this injection, people who have low sexual desire, and when that low sexual desire is not from another reason, another medical condition, um, and we can use this injection before intercourse. So, let's say you have your date night and you guys are going out, and you know that you're going to be back at the house, or let's say you get back to the house, and you're like, let's get it cracking here. So you get this injection, you inject yourself, and about 45 minutes later, it helps your body to release dopamine. And dopamine is a hormone of motivation, a hormone of desire. And so by giving this injection, about an hour later, you can have a boost in desire, and that your libido is there, and that will help to like spark everything else off. So, if you have like no libido problems and arousal problems, then we don't need this medication. But if your problem is at the libido level and you're just not interested, then this may be something that might be an option for you. Does require a prescription, and if you don't like injecting things, like, it's probably not a good choice. But that being said, the needle is very small, and risk versus benefit. Those are the things that we want to think about here. It's like how much life improvement can you get from having a good sexual relationship? So it's something to consider. Um, one of the downsides to it is that if you have blood pressure issues, blood pressure problems, and are not treated, it may not be an ideal choice for you. But it is a medication that is available. Now, Addie is like the pink pill. If you've heard of the pink pill, like the opposite, that's like the women's Viagra. This is what this is. It's Addie or flibanserin. And flibanserin, this is a FDA approved drug that is used to treat female sexual dysfunction and to help with desire also. It's a daily pill. So that's the one thing about that. You gotta take it every day, forever, basically. And it works with the serotonin receptors in our body to restore them to a natural level for sex. Sometimes high levels of serotonin in the brain can block sexual function. And so we use this to help to normalize those levels. And over time, it does help. It can help, I should say. It takes a while to work. So it may take 6 to 8 weeks for us to actually see it make a difference. But when it does make a difference for people who it works for, it works very well. It also aids with sleep. So if you are someone who has problems with sleep and problems with your libido, this might be a good option for you. Okay. Then there's off-label testosterone. And most of us, when we think about testosterone, we think about burly men in the gym injecting anabolic steroids. But testosterone is actually a hormone in both men and women, as is estrogen. Men have estrogen, women have testosterone, and testosterone is very important in our desire and stimulation. So The off-label use of testosterone just means that there's not like an FDA approved testosterone medication for libido. That doesn't mean that it doesn't work. It doesn't mean that it can't be used. It's just off-label. Um, and so most of the people who prescribe it are using data from it being used for other reasons. So we have a lot of data in women for other uses. We have data in men. We have data in trans men on the use of testosterone and safety levels. So it's honestly, it's actually pretty safe to use. It's just we don't have like the certified um, use, or it seems to be. I should say it seems to be safe to use. We don't have the research studies for me to make that statement. But the way it is used, when it is used, is in a gel, and we generally will use 1/10 the dose for that men use. And we want to check the levels because it is a gel and it absorbs, like there's different absorptions. Again, everybody's different. If somebody has thicker skin, somebody has thinner skin, more fat or adipose tissue, it may absorb differently. So we need to check levels to make sure that the levels aren't too high. And we do periodically want to check the levels, which is different than what we do with estrogen therapy. So just keep that in mind. If you want off-label testosterone, you'll probably need to, talk to a specialist or somebody who's very comfortable or open to, exploring the use of it. So it's gained, like I said, it's gaining more traction. More people are becoming aware of it, but it's not like across the board. So you may go to your doctor and they may side-eye you and tell you like it's going to make you grow facial hair and make your Adam's apple get bigger, which it could, but when we use it, that's why we do the testing on the levels. So we test the levels so that we make sure that it's in physiologic or natural range and not too high. So it can be used safely, but that's the reason why we want to check to make sure that we're using it and the levels aren't too high. Okay, I'm going to jump into the chat here and see what we've got going on with the comments. Yeah, never hear about these medications. No commercials. Right. It's funny. It's really difficult to advertise anything about sex and pleasure. I have a couple of, ads on Facebook, and I have to very carefully word things. I can't say the word sex. You can't say pleasure. You can't say desire. I mean, it goes on and on and on. And even though it is like a medical issue, a medical, concern, and desire and to me, pleasure are natural right. Like it's a natural function. Um, they just don't do it. And no, they're not expensive. The testosterone's not going to be covered by your insurance. um some of these are expensive. I'm sorry, some of them are expensive, but not like wildly expensive. And the testosterone's not going to be covered by insurance just because it is off label. Is injection daily or when you need it? Yeah, it's not daily. It's when you need it. And I think if I'm remembering correctly, I have to double check this, but I think you can use it like on average four times a month. So that's once a week for sex. Okay, moving on. All right, so coming back to the pillars of good groove living. And so, what we have covered to date is the sexual health, the menopause health. Those are two very important areas in our pillars of good groove living. But what about all of the other pillars? So, what about our finances? What about our fun, our family, all of those things? So, let's talk about that a little bit. I think that all of these need to be in balance. What we find a lot of times in menopause and perimenopause is that the sexual health and then our general health are thrown off. And a lot of times when I do an intake with my clients, and we'll go through all of these um, different pillars, and the sexual health is very low. The levels in the sexual health are low. The levels in the menopause health are often very low. And we tend to be pretty good. Like at least the clients that I work with are pretty good with their careers. The career's on point. Um, their personal development is doing really well. And again, this is not across the board, but the tendency with the clients that I work with, they tend to be okay in those areas, but they're missing out on the pleasure stuff, the sexual health stuff, the fun. A lot of times we forget to have fun. We forget to have fun. Finances are always or often an issue. It's like it's hard out here in these streets, right? In these like wild market streets. But yeah, so some of these other areas end up getting neglected, and so we to live well, to plan for
Oh my
our
God, how
good
come I can't
living
see
now and
anything?
into the future, what we need to do is to focus in on some of these other areas. And so the way that we define our dream, so in order to live the dream, we have to first define it. Like, what is it that you want? What is it that you like to see in your life? And that requires us to understand something called the authentic root. Now, the authentic root is who we really are, that little inner child, that little girl inside. Who was she when you were before the world like interrupted, before you had the trauma that you had, before you had kids and then dedicated your life to the needs and wants of your children, before you got married, before you got divorced and went through that drama. All of those things get in the way oftentimes of who we are at our core, that authentic root. So we have to know who that person is in order to define our dream for ourselves. And so once we've defined our dream, um, and begin to act and move towards it, we find something called authentic resonance. And authentic resonance is our authentic selves, living and doing in authenticity. It's our purpose, our soul desire. It's following your calling. And it's often different than what is expected of us, right? So a lot of times we end up, even with our careers, we go into the career because your parents said, oh, being a lawyer, like lawyers make good money, you know how to argue, so that's a good career for you. So you go down that path, and maybe you do really well, and maybe there are parts of that that resonate with you, but it may be your authentic resonance may actually be different than what is expected of you, or what you even expected of yourself. And so when we live in authentic resonance, we are living aligned. Okay. It's an aligned living. It is a purposeful and very peaceful living, because you are living the way that you and God, you and your inner self know that you need to be living. And so it's from this place of our authentic root, that we need to define our dreams so that we can achieve those dreams. So I would love for you all to drop in the chat what your dream is. Like, what are some of the things that you wanted to do when you were a child? What is that little girl inside want? What did she want? Was she funny? Was she like the class, I won't say clown, but was she the class comedian? Did people laugh at what she had to say? Was she playful? Did she run and skip? Was she a swimmer? Let's drop in the chat for me. I know for me, I had a sense of adventure, and sometimes we lose that sense of adventure on the way in our journey. Okay, anyone? Okay, here we go. Got a couple coming through. More carefree, writing. Okay, healer and creator. Love that. Okay, great. Okay. So the path to authentic resonance requires that we examine the pillars. So you want to look at those pillars and see where your deficits are. What areas are stronger. Maybe you're, doing great in your career, things are moving well, or maybe your family is just, wonderful. The kids are doing well. You have good relationships with your friends, but maybe you don't, spend enough time with fun stuff. You need to take a look and examine those pillars. So let's do that now. Where do you guys see that you might have some deficits in these pillars? Good memory as a child, effortless. Okay. Yeah. What about our pillars? Are you all feeling good about your finances? Drop finance if you feel fantastic about your finances. Address imbalances. What imbalances? Where are your imbalances? Where do you feel good and where do you feel like you need to address the imbalances? I feel good about my self-development. I've spent a lot of time thinking about who I am and what's important to me, and working on building and developing those areas. So that's something that I am feeling good about. Need help defining your dream. Okay, that's perfectly fine. Okay. All right. Any others? Relationships with others. Okay. Is that good? Is that a place that's good for you, or is that a place where you're needing some support, Angela? More self-aware than usual. Yeah. I think that happens for a lot of women as they go through the perimenopausal transition, because it's a pause, right? A menopause where it's a time where a lot of us will kind of say, "Hey, okay, we're at this kind of midway point. What's going on? What am I feeling? Where do we go next?" Right? Would like more time to connect and have fun and travel. Yes, absolutely. Okay. So yeah, so we once you examine your pillars, then we can address the imbalance, and that's kind of what I do with the work with my clients. We'll get in there and we'll figure out how to like even out those imbalances, and that again takes the education, learning about yourself, any kind of unblocking that needs to take place. And once we get into a little bit more balance, then we can do some work with defining the dream and figuring out what it is, getting back in touch with that little person that lives inside of all of us. And it's funny because it's like moving so quickly, we often just detach from that inner child, that little person inside that has a dream, that wanted to, be more playful, all of those things. And so my unblock got a little blocked. And then yeah, we unblock. So we define the dream, and when I talk about defining the dream, it's like a lot of us have like and a great example of this is empty nest. Your kids go off to college, and then now suddenly you're like, the thing that you were doing most of the time is now you're not doing that anymore, and so like, what do you do now? um and it's a little overwhelming. I know, an example of this, my sister, I'm putting my sister's business out there, but I have two nephews, and they're both, one has graduated from college, the other one is in college. And when the younger of the two went to college, it was very rough. It was very rough for her, because it was such a big change. Like, literally 20 years of her life, she had been pouring into this child and not putting her inner child, um, making her a priority. And so when that change happens, it's very stark, it's very jarring a lot of times. And so we can find that little person again and define that, and then unblock all the things that have gotten in the way of that little person, and then begin to live that aligned living. And so we can redefine what we want to do. We can start to explore, and it's not something that you do in a day necessarily. It's not like, okay, now I've completed this worksheet and I know what my, aligned living path is. But we begin to pull out those beautiful things within us, and then be able to pour into those. And so that is the path. And so I have something really great for you all, and that is to give you some tools and some options for support in your next steps. Okay, so for the sex and romance, if you have any blockages there, I have a kit. It's a toolkit. It's called the Libido and Desire Reboot Kit. And this is an amazing kit that has a course in it where you can get some of that education about rebooting the compatibility, rebooting the sex and libido, and desire in your life. And it has 3 modules in it. It's video, a digital course that with me. And we talk about body communication, some of the sexual myths that exist, the anatomy of good sex, and some sexual fitness biohacks that you can do. Included in this kit is the desire reboot meditation, which is called the Divine Ember meditation. It's a sexual activation meditation, and that is included for you. And you can just listen to it, and it helps to bring your mind and body together and helps to support arousal. So it's a really great tool for that. And then I have broken down in the guide to arousal and desire medications. We goes into a little bit more detail, some of the things that we talked about today. And you can use this as a tool for conversation with your doctor. You can take it in with your doctor and show them so they can say, oh, this is a medication I wasn't aware of. They can look it up. And just say, I'd be happy for you to take a moment to go look it up. They can go look it up and talk to you about that being an option for you. And then included in this libido and desire reboot kit is the Why Don't I Like Sex Anymore book. This is my book. It is a digital copy of the entire book, so you can reference that. Of course, we've had 3.5, 4 hours in these 3 sessions, but we can't address everything in these sessions. So I wanted you to have a resource for if you're having some imbalances in the sex and romance area of your pillars. This is a great option for you. Okay. And then if the tech actually could go ahead and drop that first link in the chat. That is the link there. And with the reboot kit, as well as the next thing I'm going to share with you, there is a code just for you guys that is available until midnight on Friday. It is for $100 off if you upgrade to a one-on-one session with me, which I'll explain to you shortly. So the Life Design 100 is the code that you'll use, and you'll just put that in to get that upgrade discount of $100. Okay. And so if you are struggling with health and wellness and the menopause transition, hot flashes, hormone issues, anything related to gynecology in your body and those perimenopause, menopause time period, then the hot flash chill system is a wonderful option for you. And the hot flash chill system has a number of things as well. It's more expansive than the libido kit. It has a full and complete guide to non-hormonal hot flash therapies, which covers. I know we talked a little bit about some of the other ones, but this one really delves into like the full spectrum of what you can use and explains it for you. Um, we have the Cool Down Coaching Blueprint, and this is another wonderful resource for you to go through and complete. It will help you to determine what medications might be helpful for you, what therapies might be helpful for you, and what supplements might be helpful for you. And you can use this to kind of track where your symptoms are and take it with your doctor and say, hey, this is what I've got going on. These are the medications and therapies that I'm interested in talking to you about. And again, you could say, here is what is on here. Can we talk about this? So it's a great tool for you to discuss with your doctor. Then I also have included the guide to estrogen hormone therapy. As we mentioned in previous sessions, the hot flashes are treated with therapy, with estrogen therapy. But not everyone is a candidate. So this helps you to understand what types of estrogens there are, what forms they come in, who's a good candidate, if you're a good candidate to use it or not, and helps to guide you in that way. Okay. And all of this is paired with a digital course, again, yours truly, in a very comprehensive course that helps you to understand what's going on in your body, to have that education and understanding. And then at the core of the hot flash chill system are the hypnosis audios. And this is a range of culturally created hypnosis audios that are wonderful for hot flash management. And so they help with hot flashes, they help with sleep, they help with stress, they help to calm the nervous system by using these hypnosis audios. Just put them on, lay back, and listen. There, most of them are 20 to 30 minutes. Some of them are longer. There's some that are designed specifically for sleep. And they are all culturally sensitive. So one of the things about hypnosis is, in order for this type of hypnosis, this clinical hypnosis to work, it requires that the imagery that is used in the hypnosis, it requires that that makes sense to the person listening to it. Now, I mentioned to you all before that when I was dealing with hot flashes and trying to figure out what the best treatment option for me is, I was using some it's not meditation, some hypnosis audios for hot flashes. But the woman on the hypnosis audios was like a British accent, and she was talking about icebergs. And I'm like, that I don't understand. It didn't like really jive with me. It didn't like, I needed something with a little bit more umph that just felt a little bit more me. And I have created this system and these audios with that in mind. One of my favorite audios on there is a nod to Martha's Vineyard and some of the wonderful practices that happen there in community. So all of the audios are really powerful, especially for our community. So that is the hot flash chill system. And so if Tech could go ahead and drop that link in this, oops, let's go back. If you could go ahead and drop that link in again for the hot flash chill system, you can also use the same code to upgrade to a one-on-one session with me. And that would give you $100 off of that one-on-one session. Okay. All right. And so why would you need the one-on-one session? So if you need more support, so all of those other things are do it yourself. So you can upgrade to have the do it yourself portion of it, but spend some time with me. We can look at your specific situation, see, where we might have some challenges. We can help to define your dream. We can see where the weaknesses are in your pillars and, come up with a plan, a path forward in terms of being able to reach your authentic resonance and live the aligned life of your dreams. And this is a really great opportunity for you to kind of get to the core and then have a plan, have a system, and have, the support. We all need support through this process. Like, we don't have to go reinvent the wheel and try to figure out, what we're doing. This is a great opportunity for you to get that support that you need. And let's live that dream. Let's live the dream. Okay. And in these sessions, I am a life coach, and I'm also a hypnotherapist in general. So if there are blocks that you have that are outside of, the sex and intimacy or menopause, we can talk about, what programs might be available and what might be helpful for you to address some of those things outside of those two core areas. Okay. And that is it. I'm going to take 1 second here. I'm going to stop the share for a moment. And I'm going to just show you, I'm going to go to that site here. We'll go to the Hot Flash Chill. We'll go to the Libido Reboot Kit first. I'm just going to share one more time. Okay, so here's the Libido Reboot Kit here. So you'll scroll down here, and this shows you all the things that are included. You can see here I blocked off the sex because this is where one of the ads comes to. So I don't want Meta to cut me off. So that's what that's all about. So yeah, all of these separately, the value of them is $5.98. So in this one-time offer, I bring it down to $97, and you can get access to everything right away. And so if we click on here, you'll see here is the Libido Reboot Kit. And if you click on this Life Design Coaching, this allows the upgrade to happen, and then we'll be able to schedule a one-on-one session. And then you'll put in here Life Design 100, click Apply, and you can see that will bring the price down by $100 for that Life Design VIP upgrade. Okay. And there are, payment plans on here. If you just don't have the cash right now, you can Cash App, Afterpay, Klarna, some different options for you there. Okay. And so I'll just quickly do that one more time with the Hot Flash Chill system. We'll just run through that. Hot Flash Chill. Okay, so here's the Hot Flash Chill. If you want neither of these, you could come in here and just put in your information here, and you'll be added to my newsletter. So you'll be able to hear when any new stuff comes out, and I send out some informative stuff for you. So if you just wanted to join the newsletter, you could do that. But here, you'll just scroll down here. We'll come all the way down. More information about the system. Come all the way down, and we can get get Hot Flash Chill system. And again, you'll see this little Life Design session upgrade. You can click on that. We come to the coupon code Life Design 100 and apply. And you can see here that that takes the price down for you. Okay. All right, so that is it. What questions do you all have? None? Okay, here we go. Great webinar series. Thanks for sharing your wonderful knowledge and positive. You're very welcome. It's my pleasure. All right, well, if there are no questions, I will kick it back to our admin team. Oh, we can't hear you.
Okay, there we go. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. I really appreciate you all being here. Again, if you have any final questions, please don't hesitate to post them. I want to encourage you all to take advantage of the wonderful programs that Dr. Williams is offering and the amazing discount codes that you have available. Thank you for joining us for this series. Please be on the lookout for more series coming from the Health Committee as we help to guide you and your families through their health journeys. Thank you all so much for being here this evening.